This is Gemara Baba Basra Daf Kuf Chof Beis, and we're holding on the very bottom of Kuf Chof Aleph Amid Beis. Apologies for the lack of video. B'siyata d'shemaya. It should be back in full form in a day or two. But for now, as we catch up on the dafim of Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, we're holding on the bottom of Kuf Chof Aleph Amid Beis, 2 lines from the bottom as we continue the discussion of the Chalukah of Eretz Yisrael, the division of Eretz Yisrael, Bizman Yehoshua. Says the Gemara, Ibayilahu, onto the last line of Kuf Chav Aleph Amid Beis. Ibayilahu, Eretz Yisrael, Lishvatim Liflog, Oidilma Lekarkov Gavri Iflig. Asks the Gemara a fundamental shayla when it comes to the division of Eretz Yisrael. Was Eretz Yisrael Lishvatim Iflig split up according to the Shvatim, that Eretz Yisrael was divided into 12 equal pieces, or did it go by each head, each person, approximately 600,000 portions, one per each yid, and divided that way? So, and of course, depending on the size of the shevet, it would vary greatly as to how much each shevet got. So says the Gemara, as we turn over to Kuf Chav Beis Amid Aleph Tashema, let's bring a raya from the pasuk. Says the pasuk in Bamidbar, Bein Rav Lemat. The pasuk says with regard to the Nachla, it's done by Goyrol, whether large or small. Seemingly, it doesn't make a difference how big each shevet was, which would seem to indicate that it went and it was divided by Shvatim. Says the Gemara, V'oitanya, another ayah. Asid Eretz Yisrael shetischalik l'shleishas Shvatim. Says the Brayso, Eretz Yisrael in the future, Bizman HaMashiach will be divided into 13 Shvatim. Shebetchila lo nischalka ela l'shnei maser Shvatim. Originally, it was only divided into 12 Shvatim. So the Brayso clearly is teaching us that it's divided into 12 Shvatim. Says the Gemara of Lo Nischalka Ela B'Kesef. Now, once the Brayso is talking about the division, it continues and said it was only divided through money. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, bin Rav Lamat. Amar Rav Yehuda saw Yehuda Shava Chamisha Sa'in Bigalil. Different areas had different values, and it went by value. Continues the Brayso. So number 1, it was 12 pieces. Number 2, it was B'Kesef. Number 3, it was divided with a gairol shenemar, as the pasuk in Bamidbar again says, Ach b'gairol nischalka. It was not only by a gairol; it was divided. V'lo nischalka ela b'urim v'tumim, and it was divided by the urim v'tumim. Shenemar al pi gairol. The urim v'tumim was a form of lottery, and that is how the division took place. But now the question obviously is, the Urim V'Tumim doesn't really sound like a gairol. Urim V'Tumim sounds like they asked Urim V'Tumim and it dictated. Hashem said, who gets what? So says the Gemara, Ha Ketzad. About 12 lines down, the first word of the line is Ketzad. Elazar, Melobash Urim V'Tumim. Elazar would wear the Urim V'Tumim. Yeshua and Yeshua ben Nun v'Chal Yisrael aimed him lefanov. V'Kal Beishal Shvatim. And there was a box. And there was a box containing the names of the Shvatim. And there was a box containing the names of each region in Eretz Yisrael. Munachim lefanav, and this box was placed in front of Yeshua and Elazar HaKohen. Vayimachavin b'ruach HaKodesh, and Elazar HaKohen via ruach HaKodesh would say, Vayimer, Zvulun Oile, Tchom Akoi. Zvulun will come, Zvulun Oile. The next lottery will be Zvulun. Tchom Akoi, Oile Imai, and Akoi is going to come up with it. Taraf bekalpi shel shvatim, and Yeshua went, or I should say, excuse me, it's actually not clear. It sounds like there's another person here that mixed up the box. Taraf bekalpi shel shvatim, ve'ola biyadai, and again, what came up? Of course, that which Elazar HaKohen said, al pi ruach HaKodesh, Zvulun, Taraf bekalpi shel tchumim. They mixed up the box of the different areas. Ve'ola biyadai, of course, tcham ha'akoi. So the Urim V'Tumim would dictate what the lottery is going to happen. And then indeed, the lottery would concur. And And then, again, he would say the same thing with Ruach HaKodesh, V'aymer, and he would say next, Naftali Olev Tchum Ginaser, Oila Yimai, Tar V'Kal B'Shal Shvat, and they mix up the box of Shvat, V'al B'yadei Naftali. The first white line, Tar V'Kal B'Shal Tchumim, V'al B'yadei Tchum Ginaser. Chen Kol Sheva V'Shelet, and each and every Shevet, this is how they divided it, that Elazar HaKoyen, Baruch HaKodesh said which Shevet is going to come up and which Tchum, and then they indeed performed the form of lottery, and that is, of course, what came up. Says the Gemara, further details about the Chalukah, V'loike Chalukah, Shalaylam Azeh, Chalukah Shalaylam Abba. This world, the division that was done, Bismani Yeshua, is not the same as the division that will be Laylam Abba, Bismani Mashiach, Haylam Azeh, Adam Yishlai Sadeh Lavan, in Loisade Pardis. Sadeh Pardis, in Loisade Lavan. In this world, you have either one type of field or the next. Either you have a grain field, or you have a Sadeh Pardis, an orchard. Or you have a orchard or a grain field. Can't have each field is one or the other. Yet Olam Haba in Lecha Kol Echad Ve'echad. On the fourth wide line, She'en Lo Baharu B'Shvela U'Be'emek. That every portion Olam Haba will conclude everything in it. Shenemar Sar Ruvain Echad Shar Yehuda Echad Shar Levi Echad HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mechalik Lem Ba'atzmai. And Hashem Himself is going to divide to each and every one of the Shvatim. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Ve'ela Mischal Koisam Noam Hashem. End of the Brisa. So we see some fascinating details about the Chalukah. We also see very clearly, as the Gemara now spells out, which we already articulated, but the Gemara says, Katani Mias, what do we see clearly? That Shevetchila Nischalak L'Shemas Shvatim Shema Mina L'Shvatim Iflag Shema Mina. So we began with a Shaila, we brought a Raya from the Pasuk, we brought a Raya from the Brisa. Within the Brisa, we learned some other details about the Chalukah. We learned a little bit about the Chalukah B'siyata the Shemaya that will come. B'Yemaisa Mashiach. The Gemara concludes that it is a conclusive Raya. Amar Mar continues the Gemara. Let's delve a little bit deeper into the Brisa we just quoted. Sidar Eretz Yisrael Shedas Chalik L'Sheshas Shvatim. Eretz Yisrael L'Aseh Lavai is going to be split up into 13 Shvatim. Says the Gemara Idach Laman. What's the 13 the Shevet for? Amar Rav Chisda L'Nasi T'chsev Avoivid Oyer Yavdua Mikol Shiftei Yisrael. As the pasuk says that the Oivid Oyer, the Nasi that will serve from all the Shvatim will give part of their land to the Nasi, and that's the 13th Chelek. Amir Rav Papa L'Abaya Ema Rungar Ba'alma. Asks Rav Papa to Abaye, are you telling me to mere workers Rungar Ba'alma? Maybe Ema Rungar Ba'alma. Maybe when the pasuk says Oivid Oyer Yavdua, maybe the pasuk means workers, that they didn't actually give them land. But maybe it means that all the Shvatim would surrender different workers to the Nasi. Says Gemara Lo Salkadaitach. Why? Dechsev Anoisel Nasi Mizeh Mizeh L'Chumas Hektish L'Achuzah Seir. Clearly talking about the Achuzah Seir, that they actually got an extra portion done for the Navi. And now we delve into another part of the Brisa. V'lo Nitzchal Kel L'Ksafim Shenemar Ben Rav Lamat Lemai. What does this mean? Says the Gemara. If you're going to tell me that the payment, the difference between the land of good quality and poor quality, are we dealing with fools? Who in the world would exchange a good piece of land for money? Of course, everyone's going to want the better land. So how can it mean that they would exchange it based on the value? Rather, it wasn't better quality land or inferior quality land, but rather it meant the land that was closer to Yerushalayim, which of course is worth more, and land that is further away. And says the Gemara, Kitanoi, this detail that they gave cash in order to offset the difference between the closer lands and the further lands, says the Gemara, this is indeed a machlokes Tanoi. Rav Eliezer, Rav Yeshua, Aimer, Bekarka Alua. It was a machlokes whether they gave extra land or extra cash. We continue quoting the Brisa, 4 lines on the bottom of Kucha Beis Amid Aleph. And it was only divided by Gairel. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Ach by Gairel Tana. We learned in our Brisa. Ach by Gairel Yatsu Yeshua v'Kalev. Only by a Gairel this comes to teach Yeshua and Kalev were excluded. Ach is an exclusion. So only everyone else aside for Yeshua and Kalev received by Gairel. Says the Gemara Lemai. Why were Yeshua and Kalev excluded? If you're going to tell me they didn't get a portion at all, Hasha Delav, did who shakal? Did who mibai? Says the Gemara, how could that be? If you're going to tell me took land that was not originally theirs, did who mibai is even necessary to say took land that was supposed to be theirs? Ella, rather, it's clear they obviously got a portion. Shalonalu, Begairel just means they didn't take by Gairel. Ella, Al Pi Hashem, but rather they took Al Pi Hashem. The Gemara proves this. Yeshua Dechsev in the last line, Al Pi Hashem, Nasallah Yasir, Shashal as Timna Serach Bahar Ephraim. That's the Raya to Yeshua. And we turn over to Kachav Bezam Ebez, and the Gemara proves that, that's the Raya to Yeshua. Ksiv, says the Gemara. Now, we spoke about different towns. The town of Timna Serach. Gemara says that this town wasn't always called by this name. Once we discuss this, so if you're keeping track, it's a tangent of a tangent. It says the Gemara, Ksiv Serach, Uksiv Cheres. Amar Rav Elazar teaches Rav Elazar B'tchila Peiriseh Kecheres Ub'Seif Peiriseh Masrich. And originally, their peiros were Kecheres, very dry, but in the end, they were rich and therefore would eventually rot. The peiros got better over time. Another B'Shat B'tchila Masrichin. Originally, the fruits were incredible and they would rot eventually if they were stored in a short time, and then they became like cheres, meaning that they're able to be stored for a long period of time. So that's the raya that Yeshua got Al Pi Hashem. Kalev, now what's the raya that Kalev got Al Pi Hashem? As the pasuk says, the Kalev as Chaver Nikasher Diber Moshe. They gave to Kalev that which Moshe said, V'yarish Misham as Shloisha B'nei Hanok, and they inherited the three portions, Shleisha, B'nei, Ha'anak, the three sons of the giant. Says the Gemara, Chavron near Miklat Havai. How could it be that Kalev got Chavron? It's near Miklat. No one got that portion. Amar Abaya Parvavya. What this means is you receive the province around Chavron. Dechsev, as the pasuk says, "V'snei Oyer, V'es Chatzira, Nasul Kalev Ben Yefuna, B'Achuzasai," and those are the rayas that both Yeshua and Kalev indeed got a chelek. They didn't get it al pi ha'gairel, but rather they got it al pi Hashem. Continues, and now we have a new Mishnah. The Mishnah brings us back into the halachos of a nachla, and particularly the difference between estates left over by a man that is nifter versus a woman that is nifter. Says the Mishnah, echad haben ve'echad habas b'nachla. A son and a daughter are subject to halachos of nachla elah. And halacha that we already learned. Halacha that we already learned, I believe it was on Daf Kuf Yod Aleph. Anyone that's been doing the Zichru together with us, Kuf Yod Aleph was the kayak, which was the remembrance that one does not get pishnayim in the Nichsei Ha'im. Says the Gemara, and the daughters are supported from the father and not from the mother. Says the Gemara, what exactly does the Mishnah mean? What does that opening statement mean? Does it mean that they both inherit equally? It can't be. But we learned in the Mishnah, ben koidim lebas. So Amar Rav Nachman, so what does the Mishnah mean when the Mishnah says, and of course we have a little bit of a siman here, reminding us to get back on the Zichru bandwagon. So Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, you know what it means in the Mishnah, the opening letter, Echaben v'echrabas, Achi Kamar, Echraben v'echrabas, Noitlein biroi kibit muchzik. They both get that which is coming to them, not only that which the deceased had when they were nifter. Says the Gemara, Hanami Tanina. We learned this as well. What do we learn on Daf Kuf Tezayin? We learned that the Bnei Yisachar not lushleish chalakim menachala. Chelik avien shaya miyotzei Mitzrayim v'chelkai im echav minachsei chefer. So says the Gemara. We already learned to this halacha as well. So ask the Gemara, what exactly is the Mishnah teaching us with this opening line, with this line? And of course, that was learned on Daf Kuf Tezayin of cuts. Says the Gemara, what's the opening line of the Mishnah teaching us? My Ella. What does it mean? Ella. What's the Ella? Ella Rav Papa. So finally, says the Gemara, you know, Pshat in the Mishnah is comes along Rav Papa hachi kamer. Echad ben v'echad abas noilid chelek b'bechayra. That they both get a portion in the bechayra. Says the Gemara, Hanami Tanina. We already learned this as well. Void my Ella. Elam Ravashi. Attempt number 3 says the Gemara comes along Ravashi. It says, you know what the Mishnah is teaching us? Hachi Kamer. Ben bin Abonim vechabas bin Abonois. That what the Mishnah is teaching us, says Ravashi, is a son amongst son or a daughter amongst daughters. If the father says right before he died, Yirish called the Chasai, that a certain child should get my entire estate, Devarin Kayamim. Then we listen to his words, and the other sons or daughters don't get anything. So Echad ben Vecharabas ben Achala teach us that the father has the ability to give away everything to a ben or a bas before he is nifter. Says the Gemara Kiman, whose shita is this going like? We're about 10 lines to the bottom. The first one line is Devar of Kayamim. Krav Yechran ben Braika. Says the Gemara, Katani le Kaman. But we already learned this later on. In about a week, we're going to learn this. Rav Yechran ben Braika Imer. Amar Amisha Rayel Yarsha Dvar Kayamim. Amisha Ein Rayel Yarsha Ein Dvar Kayamim. Rav Yechran ben Braika taught us that someone is able to give away something to someone who potentially is going to inherit. So why would the Mishnah need to teach us this? If you're going to tell me because some like Rav Yechran ben Braika, maybe our Mishnah is coming along and teaching us a stam Mishnah like Rav Yechran ben Braika. Says the Gemara, they can't be because tam like you see. Because it means that our Mishnah is a stam. And the latter Mishnah is a machlekes. Ustam machlekes ain't a lachikis tam. We would not paskin like our Mishnah. Void, and furthermore, my Ella, what would the Ella and the Mishnah mean? So Ella, Amar Ravashi, a fourth and final pshat, what the opening line of the Mishnah Chaben v'charabas means, comes along Mar Ravashi and he teaches Achi Kamer. Echraben v'charabas shavin. They're both equal. Benichsei ha'im u benichsei av. They're both equal. Ella. Shaben noitel pishnayim benichsei av, ein noitel pishnayim benichsei ha'im, but does not get pishnayim in the mother's estate. And this is a detail that we're going to pick up from over here. B'siyata the Shemaya discussing the pishnayim that is taken by the ben in the next year. B'siyata the Shemaya.